It's the finals of the FIDE World Blitz Team Championship, and look at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Hong Kong. It's packed to the capacity here. More than 1,000 people have come here to watch the finals, and what a beautiful setup made by the organizers and FIDE. We have two amazing teams playing the finals. We have the Endgame.ai led by Hans Niemann, and we have the Dragon Chilling um, by the team of led by Ding Liren. There you can see Denis Lazarevic, Alexei Sarana, Zhu Jinner, Hans Niemann, Lenier Dominguez, and Nguyen An Dung. They're below 2000 board going to the game, and this is going to be a very important match for them. Gold medal match at stake. And then we have the Dragon Chilling team, and we have the below 2000 board here. First entering in the youngster Wang Zihao. Then we have the world champion, reigning women's world champion Zhu Wenjun, Bai Jinshi. We have Lu Shanglai, Yu Yangyi, and Wei Yi. And finally, world champion, the 17th world champion Ding Liren enters in as the players come in, and their coach Ni Hua, who is like, okay, come on, you can't leave me out here. He's one of the main guys, thanks to whom the Chinese team is playing so well. And it's 3 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. The game has already begun. It's the Italian and players blitzing out their moves. 3 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. Hans versus Ding. Bishop e3, and look at the speed at which they are playing. This is all preparation. Queen to d7 played by Ding, and Hans pauses. He's the first one to think. Okay, h3 seems logical here, but he plays bishop b3 and bishop d8 played so that the knight can no longer capture the bishop. Pawn to c4. This does weaken the d4 square a bit, but solidifies the knight on d5, and later you won't be able to push pawn to d4. Ding Liren takes a bit of time now. He has a few options up his sleeve. He can go knight g4. I was also wondering if he could play knight knight e7, then there's knight f6. He goes knight g4, a good move, attacking the bishop on e3. Now you want to preserve that bishop. Like for example, you may want to play bishop d2, but black is very quick to get their own play with f5. So Hans decides to let him take here. He castles so as to not lose time, and I think Ding Liren should take it. Yes, takes fe3, and f5 looks like a very normal move now, although it does undouble the white pawns. He goes knight e7 first, pawn to d4, knight goes to g6, defending the e5 pawn, getting ready to kick the knight away with c6. I like how Ding Liren has played this position until now, knight c3, and he's also moving very quickly. Queen comes to e7 so that the bishop may not get trapped with d5 later. And now Hans Niemann is thinking about how to play. Usually when you have the open f file, you want to go knight h4, knight f5. Here it's not so easy. Pawn to c6 quickly played by Ding. Look at the time lead he has taken. He's more than 45 seconds up on the clock. Queen comes up to d3, and now Ding goes bishop to b6, putting pressure on the pawn on d4. Rook comes to d1, rook d8. I think Ding means business here. He just wants his team to win the gold, and he doesn't want to be the one who limits their chances in any way. Now taking the pawn is possible. He takes here, b takes c6, and plays his bishop to a4 to put pressure on the c6 pawn. I guess you have to move the queen away. Queen to c7. Yes, defends the pawn. And now f5 is still on the radar. White needs to come up with a plan. and it's not so easy. b4 is logical, gaining space. a6 played here to maybe prevent the move b5 and also to make space for the bishop so that it doesn't get trapped. Bishop comes back to b3 and h6 played. It's a useful move, taking control of the g5 square. Knight goes back to g1 and Hans is looking for the knight e2, knight g3, knight f5 maneuver. It looks a bit slow, but the question is, what is black going to do in the meantime? Is black going to aim for d5 break? That looks impossible. So he comes back bishop e6. Now knight e2, queen a7, a nice move, putting pressure on the e3 pawn. That pawn needs to be defended. Rook f3 seems like the most logical way, or you could launch a counter attack on the c6 pawn with bishop a4. I have loved how Ding Liren has maintained his edge on the clock. Rook to f3 played now. Okay, there are some possibilities around knight to h4 attacking the rook. I guess a5 also is an idea worth considering, just trying to open up something on the queen side. Overall, it does feel like the black pieces are much better coordinated. Knight h4, rook comes to g3. Hans is happy with the fact that his rook is on g3 here. It is putting pressure on the king side. And Ding now plays, he's going for the f pawn. I think f5 does look logical here, to push that f pawn down the board, to open up lines for the rook, for the bishop. All that you have to take care of is this diagonal as well, because that could be, some tactics could lie with the move c5. This time Ding takes quite a lot of time, so his time lead gets now diminished and he plays f5. Hans is ready with his move already, because Ding had put his hand near the f pawn. That gave Hans the time to think. I mean, taking on f5 would be suicidal, because then knight f5 and this is hanging. So the best move now is knight a4, so that you put pressure on this bishop on b6. Hans down to 30 seconds. Hans, come on. Knight a4 played. And now king h8 or king h7. But it's tempting to push your pawn. He pushes forward, but this is a mistake, because, and he takes on b6, which is a blunder. Takes the rook, h takes g3. And now actually it's Hans who is in big trouble. His point is, if queen b6, he wants to play c5. Even this position is bad after d takes c5 check and king h8. But Ding instead goes queen e7. He doesn't even bother about taking the knight. He's like, take my knight. Right, you will have two pieces for the rook, but I'll have a huge attack. I'll have a very big attack here. G takes h4, queen h4, king g1, and this is mate almost now. Okay, how do we continue? Queen f2 makes sense. King h1. Hans has just 13 seconds. Ding has roughly a minute to figure out where the mate is. Bishop g4 feels like a nice way to add another piece into the attack. He plays bishop g4. Now the e2 knight is hanging. There is a c5 move that is a check, but it's only one check. Hans down to 2 seconds. He plays rook d2. Queen h4. There is a repetition to be taken. Queen h4, queen f2. But of course he's playing for a win here. Rook f2. Better move was rook f3 somehow. Rook f2, c5 played, king h7. And now rook d1, the best move. But he plays bishop d1 and bishop f3. Excellent move. It was a mate on g2. Now takes the rook on d2, giving up the queen. But now queen takes e3. He takes first on c5. B takes c5 and adjusts the knight, takes on e3. And Ding Liren has won the game against Hans Niemann. Wow, what a game by Ding under pressure. And he managed to keep his cool. This does show that Ding is able to now fight and, not collapse like he used to do a year ago, and this is really, really amazing. So I want to take this game from this point because everything happened so quickly that some things couldn't be figured out. So firstly here, Ding playing the move f4 gave Hans a chance. He took on b6, which was a blunder, but take here and knight f4 was a very nice move, because after rook takes f4 comes knight b6, queen b6 and c5 with a very good position for white, because there's a pin here, queen is attacked and also the bishop is hanging. In the game, when f4 was played attacking the rook, at this point Hans went and took the bishop, and after rook takes, he had calculated that now the knight is hanging, and if you pick up this knight then c5 is coming. Of course it's very difficult to assess that even such a position is lost for white, because this is hanging and then the knight can be saved. So this was a calculation error by Hans, but Ding did not take that piece. He went queen e7, which is a nice move, because he realized that taking a piece would not be that important as much as creating an attack here. So at this point Ding made great moves. He also gave this check, and here was a very cool move that would have won, which is rook f3. And the idea is, one idea is queen g3 and then picking up this pawn. The other is rook h3 check, gh3, queen f2 check, king h1 and mate. So that's a very nice variation. So just to show you, if here for example knight c3, then queen g3 check and rook e3, but if you play let's say c5, then I go king h7 and something like this, for example say for example c takes d6, then rook h3, gh3, queen f2 and mate. So this is what could have been a quick win, but Ding went rook f2, which is very natural, attacking this knight, but he missed that rook d1 just allows a trade of queens, which actually is still better for black but gives white fighting chances. So Hans misses it. He plays a check and then goes bishop d1, and now Ding finds the killer blow, bishop f3, and after this he's just simply winning. So this was how the game, the analysis of the game that went super quick. Ding, congratulations for another world title. Your finals against Hans Niemann, the first game, it felt like there was so much pressure and there was repetition with queen f2, queen h4, but you continued to play and you won. That was so amazing. It felt like 2019 Ding, and the full energy was back.
Yes, I think because I have a lot of time, I have time advantage. Also, my position could not be worse. His places are stuck in the queen side, so there must be a way to play on. But my move is not the most accurate. There are better moves, but ever harder to find. The rook f3. But my move was okay, was good, and to still put pressure on him on the king side. Then I find the final killer below bishop f3. Then the game is over.
Amazing play. And the second game also, you played like brilliant chess. I think you were better, and in the end something happened and I think it ended in a draw. Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I should be better throughout the game because he misplayed his knight on d8, but he just maneuvering his pieces and suddenly become tricky. But I'm lucky to find queen b2 to not to lose any material after the exchange of the pieces. Yeah, and in the endgame, I must misplay something. I should have played knight h4 earlier and f3, then push a pawn. But I allow him to put the rook on e2, bishop d3. And then in the end, he could decline the reputation by king e6. He missed that. He wants to play on, but I saw he already put the king on f8 and leave the hand. So I told him he is a great job.
Amazing. And last question. You said that you are back to competitive chess over there. It felt so emotional. I felt also like everyone felt emotional. Can you share a bit more about this?
And then finally, Ding, I want to come to you. Welcome back to the international stage, world champion. You've been receiving so much love online. Everyone is so happy to see you back. What message do you have for your fans around the world?
It takes long to wait, but it's all worth the process. Yeah, I can say back to the competitive competition.
Let's go.
Well, there's nothing better to be done this time because we win both gold medal like 2018 in Batumi. We win both men's and women's section. So this year is amazing, and I have won a lot of tournament yet, and there's nothing can compare with that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ding, and all the best.
Bye bye.